All right, Billy, we are live. Thank you so much for taking out some time.
My pleasure, Mike.
So let's get started right off with Ghostbusters.
What?
Right away, you're like, you're going to talk about Ghostbusters?
That's never happened.
So I guess, tell us about your portrayal of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. What was it like inside that suit?
Well, I built the suit, so
Of course.
I made it comfortable. You want to do that if you know that you're going to be wearing the suit. At one point, they thought, because the shape wasn't quite what they wanted, they thought they wanted it to be fiberglass. And I talked about that. Actually, I sabotaged the fiberglass one that they made so that then I would be forced to come up with a better way, which was with the stiffer foam, you remember. So being inside it, of course, it was hot. It's all made of insulation material. And, I'm warm-blooded. And
Sure.
of course, it was closed off. You remember this picture of me?
Of course.
Me in the suit. Did you ever see the present that I was given? Did I show you this? A friend bought one of these and then modified it.
Get out of here.
Isn't that cool? And
no.
A little flattering. He used Brad Pitt. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it's about right.
That is radical.
So that was cool. It was a birthday present about 5 years ago. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, weird being paid to dress up in a big marshmallow suit and stomp around on a cool miniature set. Got to be fun, right?
I was going to ask, what was it like working on that miniature set?
Well, of course, I couldn't just wander through it. I'd be knocking over trees and crushing cars. Oh, actually, I did keep one car. I have it here in this plastic bag, but I'll take it out for you. See this car? That looks like a car. That looks like a squished car. I started the shot with that under my foot. And then, and actually, the first time that Stay Puft is blasted, the shot where there's no tie?
Sure.
We've spoken of that one in the past. Well, in that shot, right about back here on the ground, because the camera's above. But if you look at it, you'll see this car.
Really?
Yep. It's right there.
How long did it take for that to create the suit? How long did it take to make it?
Well, let's see. I was on the project for 6 months because they were shooting each little shot once they knew that the shot before was successful. So we made a bunch of the suits. It's hard to say. Actually, for the Kimmel show in, what was it, 2016, or, the one Answer the Call. No, is that this one or is it the old one? I forget.
Yeah, 2016 is Answer the Call. Yeah.
Okay, when I'm trying to be nice. So they had both cast, the boys and the girls, on Jimmy Kimmel's show. And so they asked to have a Stay Puft suit for Guillermo. Do you know Kimmel?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you know Guillermo. And
Sure.
so we built the suit for Guillermo and had him, actually he had his face out. But we had one day to do it. 25 hours between start and delivery. That was partly why, because it was then, they asked for it the day before,
Sure.
or maybe 2 days before. It was weird. They didn't offer it to me because they didn't know how to find me, but they did offer it to my protege, the son of my best friend. This son is named Ben Bayouth, who incidentally just offered me work like 10 minutes ago. The Masked Singer?
Sure.
So we've been making some of those masks. I've helped him out. He's had the job to do a bunch of them. Anyway, so where was I going? Anyway, yeah, I skipped around. Why did I start talking about Ben? I'm trying to remember.
I asked about how long did it take to make the suit, but I think you got it.
Oh, so it was the one day. So Ben got the job to do the one day suit, and we did it. We managed to throw it together, partly because I already had molds for the hands. When I resculpted them back in 2011, I had molds made, or made molds. And so I had one set made in foam so that they'd be as authentic as possible. And other than that, let's see, do I have any here? Maybe it's up. Anyway, oh, I've got a bag of them over there. I cast them up in latex and slip latex and sell them for $100 a piece plus shipping and handling. You can tell everybody. Be sure to come to my, let's see, I guess if they went to Instagram, build.staypuft, and ask me about it, then they would be able to order a hand, left, right, both, whichever.
Yeah.
So there's that. Let's see. What else do you need to know? I forget. Oh yeah, because we had the hands, we were able to get it done in a day.
Wow.
Also the head. I had made a old Stay Puft, like old wrinkly Stay Puft, you know, had glasses on, and I actually into the surface of the foam, I'd cut you know, some wrinkles, and then I glued a piece of wrinkled white plastic bag onto it, so it was even wrinklier, you know. So it was just, you know, what Stay Puft would look like if he was the actual age of me. Oops. And so because I had that, we just peeled the skin off of that, and there was an L200 basic form inside. My son was there. I had made a hat, so the foam had started to come loose, but let's see, either he remade it or he glued it back together again, and then recovered that head so that we were able to get it done in that one day. So in answer to your question, how long does it take to build a suit? You could probably do a really nice one in a couple of weeks, probably, something like that. You know, the one, if you look at the pictures, anyway, there were problems. The legs were very droopy because I skipped a step. I had to. I didn't have time to make that final layer that went inside to stiffen up the legs. Because, you know, the legs and arms are each 2 layers thick. It's like shaped about like that. So when it comes around, it creates that cone-like shape. And then at the top, up at the top, we made big long needles out of welding rod, hammer the end flat and drill a hole through it, and sharpen the other end. And then we poked that through the foam, through the 1-inch foam, and then with a string on it, so that when we pulled it tight, it made the whole top of the leg and the bottom of each part pull in. Now it did wrinkle, but we glued it down close enough to the outside so that it hid the wrinkles, because it was still just, you know, smooth out here, but then it got wrinkled in here. So we just glued this part together, you know, between thigh and calf, and between shoulder and upper arm. Anyway, so there's that.
That's cool, man. You brought up the elusive tie situation. I wanted to know if you could tell us about that, because I don't know if everyone knows it.
All right. One night, Joe Viscosal, may he rest in peace, he was the pyro guy who was lighting up Stay Puft. And some of the lighting was in actual flash bulbs in the bib. So he was, you know, there was a layer of fabric, and he slashed it and opened that up, and he was sticking flash bulbs behind it, pulled it back. Well, I went to him and I said, I've got to glue that tie on so that, you know, it's there when we put it on. He said, well, I'm afraid I'm going to lean against it and mess it up while I'm putting these, you know, flash bulbs and little rockets on the, so we'll get to it later. So we shot the shot, and at 2:00 in the morning, I awoke bolt upright in bed. My wife said, "What's wrong?" He wasn't wearing his tie. And so the next day, when they showed dailies, everybody applauded because it was such a good-looking shot. And then I had to go to Michael Gross, the producer, and say, Michael, I don't want to have to tell you this, but he wasn't wearing his tie. Michael thought about it. What we had shot was just Stay Puft. And he said, well, the rest of the shot is going to be very complicated because Stay Puft is going to be behind the parapet. Sure. The guys are going to be standing on it. There's going to be neutrono-on, flashy lights and the bulbs going off. And actually, until he leaned back far enough, actually, this outfit looks kind of like it in a way. I hadn't even noticed that, but it's a good illustration because as he leaned back, as he got to here, you could see that there was no tie. And it was like that. But the car is back there. So pay attention to that and not that.
Pay attention to the car, not the tie. I got you.
I was working with Carlo Rambaldi on something, and he wasn't very proud of the way something looked. And he said, tell director, make a big noise on screen. And then nobody noticed. Something like that. Big noise.
That's great, my man. So you returned to the world of Ghostbusters in 2016. With the female cast. What was your role in that film?
Oh, I wasn't involved in the film. Well, okay, I'll adjust that. Rick Lazzarini, a friend of mine and occasional boss, he got the job of creating the creatures that were all going to be covered up with CG. And so he thought he had a chance to push the design a little bit. And he asked me, my son Toby, and a couple other folks to come on down to the shop and just for a couple of days throw in just freebie it out. Now, I don't do that, but I thought, well, Ghostbusters, and then if it helps him get some work, he didn't get any more work out of it. And in fact, him showing what he was thinking about scared them so much that they kind of pushed back on it. Yeah. So not my favorite experience, although when it opened, I got to go to Japan.
That's
somebody, cool. I got contacted on Facebook it was Facebook. And somebody said, hey, I just found out that you're the Marshmallow Man, and would you like to come to Japan and sign some autographs during the opening, the new movie?
That's killer, man.
So I said, yes, I'll have to bring my manager. Oh, that's right. It wasn't you. It was Carla. Actually, he was reluctant until I told him, actually, it's my girlfriend. He said, oh, well, sure, come on.
See that? That's fantastic, man.
So I was trying to be cagey, and instead it was better just to be honest.
See that? Oh man. Brilliant. So now I saw you worked on Dune. I'm a big fan of Dune. Can you tell us about working on that film?
Oh yeah, that was the movie I did just before Ghostbusters, and after it too a little bit because we assembled. I built still suits for Dune. Sure. So you remember those black leather-looking muscular suits that they wore out in the desert, sure. Supposedly to return their body moisture to them. So it's supposed to filter and distill anything that may come out of your body, and then return it in a pure form, a little sipper straw here. I don't know. Even if it worked great, it still makes you think, don't it? So now they're making another Dune. They did, what was it? A miniseries a few years after. Well, when was that one? We did Dune. 2090 something maybe. Anyway, so there's that, and now there's this one coming, and I keep getting told I still think that the first still suits were the best, and I don't argue with them.
Listen, man, if the work holds up, you gotta go with it.
That's right. So what we did, we built the still suits and finished up. Oh, let's see. Around maybe November of '83, maybe a little earlier. And then I got called in around then to work on Ghostbusters. Worked all the way across till about April. You can do them, yeah, about April and May. And then while they were finishing up Ghostbusters, I got hired by Carlo Rambaldi to do, first of all, some work on Cat's Eye, but then another little project. It was a great big fleshy tunnel is how is how Carlo described it. It's the fleshy tunnel through which the little baby is born.
That's cool.
Okay. He's trying to be polite in his description. Anyway, so I built this big 6-foot fleshy tunnel and painted it pink the way Carlo asked. And David Lynch came. He recognized me, remembered that we built still suits together. I was just telling somebody that while we were building still suits, we had a meeting with David on at Bob's Big Boy, in fact, where he had his usual tuna melt and we had whatever we wanted. And then on the way out at the car, I said, did you ever consider using, for the water changing ceremony, Crystal Gales, Don't It Make Your Brown Eyes Blue? He didn't laugh. Oh, well. I don't know if you remember that it's the water, from the sandworm, I guess, that it's the spice. Right, the spice, right. Which ends up turning their eyes blue.
Of course. Oh, man, that's great. Hysterical. And in Child's Play, you were the puppeteer for Chucky, which we've...
Not the.
One of them.
I was one of many puppeteers on Child's Play. In fact, I was a relief puppeteer. Dave Nelson was one of the, was it 8 or 16? I think 8 guys were on the project at the time. And then Dave had to go take care of his sick dad. So Mark Tyler was one of them, and he had helped on Still Suits and Stay Puft. So he passed the favor along and called me in to help out on Chucky. And I got to do a few parts. There's one specific moment I remember. They sent me down just for a moment when Chucky sticks the key into the doorknob and turns it, right? He's going to break in and hurt somebody. And so it was like an arm on a rod, and just try to get it right. Boom, boom. Got it on the first shot. So there we go. And I was doing cheeks and eyebrows and things like that for other shots. Let me out kind of moments. There was a great moment when what's his name? Alec Vincent.
Sure.
Alec is very small. I know now he's taller.
Yeah, sure.
He's a little scruffy himself. Anyway, he was supposed. Chucky says, "I thought you said we would be friends to the end." And then Alec drops the match and says, "This is the end, friend." And yeah. Tom Holland really wanted him to get some guts in it. He says, all right, this is the end, friend." And Alec said, "This is the end, friend." He said, "Okay, that's good, but we want a little bit more out of it. Okay, ready? And this is the end, friend." And so he had to. Tom Holland had to work with Alec a little bit to get him psyched up for the moment. When he
pumped up.
Yeah,
that's great, cool. Man. I love it. You also play. You played the Pit Bitch in Army of Darkness, which I love.
Did you see my rap resume?
Did I? What do you mean?
If you go to YouTube, Bill Bryan's resume rap, I think it says.
Okay.
Actually, even Bill Bryan's resume is enough. It'll come up. And the thumbnail is a picture of the Hollywood sign. Just happens to be somewhere in the middle of the thing. It's about a minute and a half's worth of yammer, where I rhyme about the jobs I've done and show little snippets of them. They're kind of, some of them are sort of, I don't know, puzzles, you know, because the first few words, I've been a schmello, been a schweezel. Okay, schmello, marshmallow man, right?
Yeah.
Been a schmello. Schweezel, in Dreamcatcher, I puppeteered the shit weasel.
Sure.
And you don't want to have to say that all the time. So I've been a schmello, been a schweezel, been a bitch in a pit. Chucky wasn't done until I done my bit. Zebra and lion would never have met. Alien cocoons, a giant marionette, and it goes on from there. And then,
look that up, man.
yeah, and then there's, I mean, it's my theme song. Then there's the chorus. It goes, he's the man, he's the man, he's the marshmallow man. If any man can do it, that's the man who can. Every day I hear it, anywhere I am, give it to the marshmallow man. Okay? And if you listen to it, it's a girl's voice, 3-part harmonies, and the girl singing it is Lindsay Hahn, friend of mine who, if you remember, Village of the Damned, sure. She's the little page boy, blonde with the green eyes in the front and center on the DVD cover. Remember DVD covers? Remember VHS covers?
Of course. I remember Village of the Damned VHS. That's how I saw it.
Yeah. Okay.
Back in the day, man.
Yeah, well, she was the head. Now it's the Christopher Reeve, Kirstie Alley one, not the old British one.
That's hysterical, man. That's so cool. I was going to ask about Dreamcatcher.
Oh yeah,
work on.
I didn't really say much about Pit Bitch, did I? Oh, I got to tell you that story because that's a good one. Okay. This was in 1991. I remember jobs according to what year my kids were born, and I remember my kids' ages according to what jobs I was working on when they were born. So they kind of help, back and forth. Wait a second, Ben Bayou just told me that I'll let you know when we're going to start. So Masked Singer going to make some cool things for that.
Kick ass.
All right. Okay, so Army of Darkness. I wasn't working on Army of Darkness at first. I was carving on Hook, carving foam for Captain Hook's ship, and there was a lot of elaborate stuff. The first part that I worked on when I got there was in Kensington Garden in London. There's a statue of Peter Pan. He's standing up atop an elaborate plinth, kind of rocks and rabbits and fairies all up and around. And then he's standing on top playing a flute. Okay. And there is a scene when Robin Williams wakes up in the snow after he's turned back into dad from being Peter Pan. Okay. And we open on one of the fairies' faces, these little carved bronze in Kensington Garden, foam covered with fiberglass in Hook, imagine the scene starts like that, and imagine what is it, 80-foot screen? How big are the big screens, right?
Yeah, 80 feet, yeah.
And so that much of it was this little carving that I did of a doll's head, essentially, and so it opened on that, and it pulls back, and then the crane shot goes around and around until we find Peter down there on the ground. Anyway, so I'm working on these various parts, and Alec. Anyway, the boss, he was. Well, I got a call from K&B, and they asked if I could help them work on Army of Darkness.
Sure.
I thought, well, sure, why not? Because K&B is a lot closer to home. My wife was pregnant with my last kid and ready to pop. And so I went to the boss on Hook, and I said, look, I'm going to go on this other job. He said, oh, I was just going to offer you the lead position. And I said, nope, kid's more important. So I went over to work on Army of Darkness. all they wanted me to do really was, I was making background skeleton suits, just cutting out bones out of L200 really fast and just gluing them onto unitards and shoving them out, one after the other. And then they came to me with the pit bitch, said, could you make her body? It's going to be covered, so it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just it should be gorky in some way, belly and boobs and whatever. Sure. So I did that. They had cast the hands and the face, that crazy boogity face. Well, so one day I'm there at the shop, and KNB is Kurtzman, Nicotero, and Berger. They came out and they said, Billy, Sam Raimi is on his way for a meeting. I'll give you the backstory. We made 2 different pit witches. One that's kind of a standard old lady kind of a face, right? Kind of Meg Mucklebone kind of a looking thing. And one that it's this crazy boogity blah kind of a face. And Sam isn't sure which one he wants to use, because he's afraid that maybe the boogity one, even though it's really scary, maybe it's so over the top that maybe it's a laugh instead of a ooh, right? You got it? So would you put on the suit, they asked me. Just put it on so that Sam can see what it'll be like. So I did. I put on the suit, and they're in the front room talking. I'm standing around waiting. Then I get this idea. Bring that piece of plywood over here. They dragged a piece of plywood over, just big enough to be a stand for a mannequin. And I just froze as he walked in. And I waited until he got up close enough, and I went, blah! And, oh, all right, it works. And I want him in it. So I got myself a job, too.
Get out of here.
So I gotched him, boogity. And then when the time came for some direction, here I am stapled in the wall behind burlap and, moss and things in this niche, in this kind of fiberglassish kind of a wall.
Sure.
And knee deep in dirty water. They've been shooting it for the last few days. And I can hear them out there. I've been in there for about an hour, and then they started lighting and preparing, getting ready. And finally I hear them, all right then, Monsterville, come out, says Sam Raimi. That's my direction. Okay. Blah. So what do you do if you're a monster? You go, blah. And apparently I got it right.
Very cool.
Classic moment in film.
Oh my God, that's great, man. Super funny. And I gotta ask, what characters did you puppeteer in Men in Black?
Oh, let's see. Grouchy. Remember, don't get too close to him, he's grouchy?
Sure.
That was me. I was inside a costume of plastic bags that I had made. It was all inflated. It was actually, I heard some commentary during, the voiceover commentary during the movie.
Yeah, sure.
They had Tommy Lee Jones and Barry Sonnenfeld talking about it. They got to that moment. I thought, okay, I'm going to get a little bit of build up. And Tommy said, people always ask me what that was. I always tell them it's a giant condom. And Barry says, it's a giant condom. And then they moved on. And it was like, hey. I spent about 3 months putting together that giant condom. You should have seen all the elaborate bits and pieces. There's things going on that. And if you watch the movie, you see it first coming around the corner, right after Will has said, okay, I'll take the job, but don't call me kid or whatever it is, because I got the skills. And Tommy says, well, as of this moment, those skills mean absolute dick.
Right.
And then the elevator door opens, and we see the airport concourse down below, and we see the customs line that we, in a minute, are in. And as the door opens, coming from the back right. Yeah, right about, let's see, how can I do it? Yeah, right about there on the screen. There's a little, you see the galumphing, the bottom half of Slug Guy. And as it moves, you can see this kind of self-motivating. Now, the thing was all inflated. It was on a little cart that I welded up, and the mechanisms, as the wheels turned, it made sticks inside turn, move, which made the big plastic bag kind of dryer hose like arrangements. And so they were moving, pushing it along. And then we go back to the end of the line, and as we come across, then right after the big bald guy who gets killed, he says he's just in town for the weekend or something.
Sure.
Something like that, and he's got fruits and vegetables that he's showing, or somebody is. Anyway, then right after that, I step forward enough for Will to, sort of, don't get too close to him. He's grouchy, and that's my big moment. And then it was over. Now one reason it was so short and that they didn't add a whole lot of other scenes for my character was that the costume was very noisy. There were compressors and vacuum cleaners inflating it. So all of this air-powered stuff had to come from somewhere. I even made silencers, which they did diminish the sound, but if you didn't know how much sound there was before, you'd just still think it was noisy. But I studied silencer technology to see if I could figure out how to make, actually I used like water bottles inside each other so that the sound would have to reroute. And, plastic is going to act like a speaker anyway. That's why they make silencers out of steel, I guess, and steel wool, because it doesn't reverberate as easily. Anyway, so what else you want to know? I'll tell you everything.
So what makeup effects did you work on for Tenacious D in The Pick of Destiny?
Oh, actually, I made devil legs for Dave Grohl.
That's cool, man. I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I got to meet Dave, obviously, then fitting him. And then we got free tickets to the premiere. And we watched the movie. And then as we left, we were standing in the lobby. The girlfriend took a break for a moment, and I was talking to Dave. And when she came back, I introduced her. Carla, this is Dave, Carla. And she didn't know Dave Grohl. She said, so did you work together on this? And Dave Grohl looks at her and says, he made very good devil leg for me. So that was my Dave Grohl story.
Brilliant. I love it, man. I love it.
Hell of a guy.
And I'm a huge fan of the show Monsters. I saw you did some work on that show too. Do you recall?
Oh, wow, it was for the Kyoto brothers, I remember. And I don't know, some monster legs or something. I forget. It was a very long time ago.
Very long time ago. Yeah, that's one of my
favorites. And a very short job. It was probably a day or two, I
feel you, man. That's good stuff. Now, you've done everything from fabricating to sculpting to puppeteering, makeup effects. What do you enjoy doing the most?
Boy.
I mean, you're like the jack of all trades. You've done everything.
Yeah, it would be cynical of me to say cashing the checks. That wouldn't be fair. Now, there are good parts about all of them. I mean, realizing a form to match somebody's idea, that's a great challenge, and it's fun to be able to see if you can do it. Coming up with your own form and matching how it feels inside is also great. I tend to do more of the internal and kind of let the detail-oriented folks take care of the exterior.
Makes sense.
But it depends on what they ask me to do.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
One thing that's fun to do is, say, if somebody has made a small sculpture and they want it bigger, And so by patterning, using either aluminum foil and tape is a way to do it. You know, you cover it with aluminum foil, then you put the tape on, then you draw the parts, the shapes of the patterns, and then cut that off, and then you use a projector and blow it up on the wall and draw larger versions of the paper patterns.
Cool.
And then you cut those out of foam and glue them together, because you have to mark them really well so that you don't get lost. You know, you have to hashtag the seams across them, and that way the marks can be matched up when you're putting things back together again. Anyway, and then it's so neat. You end up with a oversized version of the same thing. I did one of my face. I have a head cast, and I dipped it in latex. Well, painted a layer of latex on it, and then drew all the lines, all these tiny wrinkles and things. I cut them all out separately and glued them back together again, 8 feet tall. And it was a pretty good thing. It was pretty close. Then I got elaborate. I actually used my head as the eyeballs, and that freaked everything out. But it was fun. It was an interesting project.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, I think that's all the questions I got, Billy.
But that's it?
That's it, my man. I think that's good. What do you think?
Yes. I mean, hey, you know what? Leave them wanting more, right?
That's it, brother. I feel you.
We'll tell them about Captain EO, and we'll tell them about, let's see, what else? Rex. And we'll tell them about Superman with Nicolas Cage. And we'll tell them about, well, let's see. The lion and the zebra hugging and crying. We'll tell them that stuff later. This has been fun.
Captain EO, man. That's rad. I love it. Next time we'll have to talk about that.
All right. Sounds good. The ongoing saga. Speaking of which, check out my Instagram at bill.staypuft. Bill.staypuft on Instagram. And you'll see, and go back a month, and you can watch this interesting little video saga that I've been producing over the years. And
That's
actually
cool.
today I was working on some more. I just went outside, and Carla shot a little bit of video of me eating a piece of chicken just to fit into a moment. Sometimes you got to have just the right thing. It was delicious.
Cool, brother. I definitely will.
All right then. Bill.staypuft.